have this friend. She has 2 kids. She's very well put together. She lives in a kind of Martha Stewart type house. But when she gets on the dance floor, oh my God. She closes her eyes, she lets loose, and she lets that music fill her. I know what you're thinking. It's alcohol. And maybe. But what I think it is she is completely in what I call her essence. And we all have got to feel like that sometimes. When did you last feel really alive? Like when you were so lost in what you were doing that nothing else mattered. When were you last in your essence? Ever since I was a young child, I felt the need to feel things, to experience life on a deeper level. When I was young, I used to dance any opportunity I could get. At home, on stage, in classes, I danced all the time. And when I danced, the music would fill me so intensely that tears would pour out my eyes. And sometimes when I would extend my arms, it was as if beams of light were shooting out of me. I was in my essence. Growing up in Australia, I loved to swim in the ocean. And I used to do this thing where I'd dive down exactly halfway between the floor of the ocean and the top. And I would suspend myself there and stay there as long as I could, just watching the light dance off the waves. And for me, it was like an out-of-body experience, almost spiritual. I was in my essence. As an adult, I came to learn that being in a room full of people, holding a microphone, whether it's a workshop or a show or a wedding, I just love to be able to create an atmosphere in the room, to contribute to the mood. That, for me, is part of my essence. Well, that's all very nice, but life can't be like that all the time, right? I mean, we're grown-ups. Yeah, we have responsibilities. We have important things to do, right? I mean, I have 2 kids. One is 2.5 and the other is 4.5. And I'm a wife, a business owner, an employer, a daughter-in-law, a sister, and a friend. At home, I have a desk full of papers, I have a house full of Lego, and I have a phone full of WhatsApp messages, and I know I'm not alone. As I've aged, I found myself getting kind of more conservative. And as the tribulations and the challenges of life have accumulated, I've just become a little more careful, a little more protective of myself, a little more fearful. And with the building up of my responsibilities, especially since I became a mum, I don't have the energy and the time anymore to really be in my essence. I'm not really having a lot of fun. I mean, I'm doing life, I'm doing it well, but I don't feel alive. And that scares the hell out of me because I have 2 great fears for my life. My 2 greatest fears, in fact. Number 1 is to live a life unfulfilled. And number 2 is to pass that unfulfillment on to my children. There's a term that some psychologists call the mother wound. The mother wound refers to an intergenerational passing of unfulfillment from mothers to daughters. And none of us mean to do it, by the way. It's when a mother's unmet dreams, her unfulfilled needs, her loss of her essence causes her to inadvertently and subtly and without realizing limit her own daughter's wildness and freedom. I don't want to have a part of that. I don't want to do that to my daughter. So I decided last year, I'm going to try and make a change. I've been setting some really high expectations for myself to perform in all these roles that I have. And I'm just gonna drop my standards. I'm gonna let loose and have some fun. But to do that, I need to create a little space in my life. So my husband and I, we made a decision together. No more babies until I'm 40. And I got a clap. You haven't noticed how badly this plan went, right? Anyway, I tried to hide it, but okay, no more babies till I'm 40, and I'm 36. So I was giving myself 4 years. It's enough time to have a bit of fun. So when you decide something like that, you need to take some practical measures, right? And we've already talked about pads and other things today, so we can talk about natural method and condoms. Two of the best contraception methods out there, quite clearly. So, anyone here who is a third child, fourth child, fifth child? Yeah. Okay, I think mum and dad might have used natural method, but it's okay, you are loved and wanted. So natural method, I'm sure you all know, it's that age-old way of counting your days in your cycle. But nowadays they have apps for that. And I downloaded a Swedish app, and I'm thinking if it's Swedish, it's probably gonna work. Because the Swedish, you know, those Scandinavians do everything perfectly. So you have these things, you count down your days and you enter your data, which I didn't do as often as I should have done. And they give you red days. On the red days, you have to use protection or stay away from each other. And green days, you can just go to town. So, hubby and I talked a lot about those red days. And just to give you some background, I don't like the pill, the implant, the IUD, patches. They just don't work for me. So that's why we went in this direction. So now, let's get down to the next practical measure, condoms. I don't know about you, but I hate buying condoms. I hate buying them, so I gave that job to hubby. And hubby also hated buying them, so he decided to do what any good Kenyan does, ask a friend who's traveling to bring them from overseas. So we found out that a very good friend of ours who lives in London was going to come for a 10-day trip. And we said to our friend, can we just send a couple of things to you? Stuff for the kids. And then you bring them when you come and visit. And he said, okay, fine, no problem. Just send them on Amazon. So now, he's newly married, and they have a young child. And in their young life together, he's never left to go on a trip, certainly not on his own. So how do you think it went down? When the day before his trip, a box arrived at the front door, found by his wife, and it said, product, condoms, quantity, 100. 100! Husband! My darling, that is very ambitious. Anyway, we know what happened, don't we? If you haven't noticed, it didn't work. A few months ago, I was late. I took a test. 2 straight lines. Oh my God, this wasn't the plan. But you know, you can't help it. Anyone here who's carried a baby knows you accept, you love. I was full of joy. I was like, okay, you know what? Forget this nonsense, essence nonsense. We're gonna move on. I have a baby now to take care of. And we'll just keep going forward, because that's what mothers do. So, I have a baby on the way. I have 2 small kids. But this essence thing is still there. I still feel like I need to do something about this, but I'm gonna push it aside. We went to have our scan. And there was this beautiful, big, healthy baby on the screen. Little arms, little legs, little alien face. I'm pretty sure it waved. Nice, strong heartbeat. And hubby, ever the economist, turned to the doctor and said, don't tell me it's twins, we can't afford it. At which time the doctor said, Oh, and there's the second baby. Oh my God. 2 babies? Twins? Now, just a minute ago, I was telling you no more kids till I'm 40. Now, we're going to be parents of 4. I felt, thank you. I felt double the love, double the joy, and double the acceptance. I turned to my husband and I did what Australians love to do, which I can't do on stage, which is to say a whole lot of 4-letter words. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. Oh my. And he said, please, babe, listen to the doctor. Listen to what the doctor is saying. You need to listen. And I turned back and I looked at the doctor and he said, I'm just trying to find the heartbeat. I'm not finding the heartbeat. A second. There's no heartbeat. I'm sorry. This baby has died. You know, when I wrote this speech, I had no words for this part. How do you put it into words? How I felt at that moment. How do I find the words for you? Maybe some people here know how I felt at that moment. Since that day, I felt myself spiraling downwards into a kind of depression. I could feel depression on the horizon and I could see it coming. And I remember the next morning getting up out of bed and I had a shower and I got up and I looked at my clothes and I just said, this is too hard. I can't put them on. How am I then going to take the kids to school and go to that business meeting? But I did it because I had to push on because that's what we do, right? That's what we do. And throughout the next few days, every time I looked down, I would notice that one side was growing and the other was not. I would just see that little, maybe it's my imagination, but I just see that little lopsided belly and I think, wow, that's a reminder. They call it vanishing twin syndrome. It's actually quite common and I'd never heard of it before. The doctors tell me that this baby will be absorbed into my body and potentially into their sibling, which I think is absolutely beautiful because it means we're together forever. Now, it's only been a few weeks. And over the last few weeks, as I told you, I've felt that depression on the horizon coming closer and closer. But I did get this SMS. And the SMS said, oh, Olivia, we'd like you to be on a panel, a public speaking panel. And I said, no, I'm too broken. I'm not strong enough for this. And I made an excuse. And I sent the message. But it kind of sparked a little something in me, a little curiosity. What if I did say yes? What if I did do it? No, I'm not strong enough. It got me thinking about a message I'd seen on a WhatsApp group some time back with a call for Data Sphere speakers. And I remember at the time thinking, I'd love to do that one day. But I'm pregnant, so now's not the time. Realizing that I was getting into a downward spiral, that if I didn't get help, I might not get out of it, I decided to go and see a friend who's also a counselor. And I told her what had been happening, and I told her about the SMS and the other text and how they'd triggered something in me. And like a good friend, she said, this is your moment. This is what brings you back to life. This is your essence. And if there's ever a time in your life that you need to connect with who you are, it is right now. Oh, let me tell you, I bounced out of that meeting. I got my phone out and I said, yes, to the panel. I reached out to the Data Sphere team. It was only just over a week ago, and I said, guys, please add me to the list. I have a story I want to tell, and I need to tell it to get myself out of this hole. And they said yes. I can't tell you how things turned around for me since that day. Instead of thinking about my baby and my sorrow, and of course I think about it all the time, of course it's still there, I started thinking about you. What do I want to tell you? How do I want to make you feel? Maybe some of you have been through something like I've been through. And so I can't tell you how it feels right now. Actually, I can. I'm going to. It feels amazing. It feels awesome. I feel like I'm back in the ocean, suspended halfway between the bottom and the top, watching the waves dance. I feel like beams of light are shooting out of me right now. I am in my essence, and I'm already feeling healed. So I want to ask all of you, when was the last time you felt really alive? When was the last time you got lost in what you were doing so that nothing else mattered? When were you last in your essence? And if you've lost it, go and find it. If you don't have time anymore, create the space. Guys, I want you to be like my friend. Get out there on the dance floor. Let the music fill your body. Close your eyes, tip your head back, and let's live a little more. Thank you very much.